Hello, soon-to-be graduates. I am Doug Clark, Dean of the College of Chemistry, and it is my great pleasure to welcome all of you, your parents, relatives, and friends to the 2025 College of Chemistry Commencement Ceremony. This is a very exciting day, a momentous day, and this day belongs to you, the College of Chemistry class of 2025. I think you owe yourself another round of applause. So we have a great program in store for you. So if any of you are still standing, please be seated, and let's begin. It is wonderful, as always, to see so many of you gathered together to celebrate this joyous occasion and very important milestone. To all of our graduates, the College of Chemistry from which you are graduating has a grand and illustrious history, a history that is now 153 years old. Many of the most important discoveries in chemistry and chemical engineering have been made right here at Berkeley, and many of the most influential members of the profession have passed through this college as undergraduates, graduate students, postdocs, or faculty. And indeed, many of the most important discoveries yet to be made inside and outside of the laboratory will be made by you. You are graduating from the finest institution of its kind in the world. As graduates of the College of Chemistry, you are now part of this remarkable and distinguished history, and you deserve to take great pride in your accomplishments and in your membership in the college community. And indeed, much has changed in the world over the last 4 years. However, you are now ready and equipped to confront these changes. By standing up for what is right and promoting and applying the twin pillars of science and engineering in a productive and responsible manner, you can continue to make the world, our world, a better place. After all, please. After all, we all live in and share a chemical world. Our food and medicine, our energy and transportation, our local and global environment, our planet's changing climate. Indeed, nearly everything we touch or rely on in our daily lives is impacted by the activities of chemists and chemical engineers. This is both a great opportunity and a great responsibility. As graduates of the College of Chemistry, you are empowered to help lead the way in developing sustainable and equitable solutions to many of the world's most pressing problems and ensure that they are implemented in a socially responsible manner. You are, after all, not only graduates of the College of Chemistry, but of UC Berkeley, the greatest public university in the world. Or as we sometimes like to say, the greatest university in the world. The faculty of the College of Chemistry is very pleased and proud to recognize all of you as you step forward to begin the next phase of your professional lives. Today, we honor 384 graduates of the 2024-25 academic year. I'm going to read off all the numbers of the degrees, so you might want to hold your applause until the very end. 88 recipients of the Bachelor of Science in Chemistry, 54 recipients of the Bachelor of Science in Chemical Biology, 89 recipients of the Bachelor of Science in Chemical Engineering, 10 recipients of the Bachelor of Arts in Chemistry, 1 recipient of the Master of Science in Chemistry, 1 recipient of the Master of Science in Chemical Engineering, 27 recipients of the Master of Science in Chemical Engineering's Product Development Program, 17 recipients of the Master of Bioprocess Engineering, 24 recipients of the Master of Molecular Science and Software Engineering, 58 recipients of the PhD in Chemistry, and 15 recipients of the PhD in Chemical Engineering. My colleagues and I congratulate all of you. Okay, now on with the show. Since this ceremony honors the accomplishments of you, our students, it is most appropriate to first hear from your representatives and classmates. Our first student speaker is Sarah Fang. Sarah is graduating this summer with a Bachelor of Science degree in Chemical Biology and a minor in Public Policy. In addition to her interest in science, Sarah has a strong passion for the humanities, and she initially wanted to be a history major at Berkeley, but with encouragement from her chemistry instructor at her community college, she applied to be a research assistant at the Lawrence Berkeley National Lab in the Earth and Environmental Sciences Division. During her 2 years at the lab, she met and engaged with highly supportive mentors who made a powerful impact on her academically and motivated her to follow the path of chemical biology. And she has excelled every step of the way. Now, it's not too often that we have students, let alone a student speaker, who have already retired from another profession. But before coming to Berkeley, Sarah was a professional figure skater and even studied under the same coach as Michelle Kwan. As a skater, she earned international medals as a sponsored Team USA athlete with the US Figure Skating Association and mentored younger skaters through various camps and coaching. She has switched gears a bit since then and traded her skates for a lab coat, but she still caters to her multidisciplinary interests. This summer, Sarah will do some traveling in Europe and also take an ethnic studies course in Paris to learn about the history of the Muslim community in France. Then, in about 2 years' time, she has ambitions to attend medical school and eventually become a physician. Judging from all of her accomplishments to date, I have no doubt that Sarah will achieve this goal and many more. Please join me in welcoming Sarah to the podium.
Hi, everyone. Congratulations, class of 2025. As you all know, graduating from UC Berkeley's College of Chemistry is such an accomplishment. It represents not only the hours of labs, lectures, late-night study sessions, but also the persistence, growth, and resilience that brought us all here. If you remember from our first semester of physical chemistry, every transition carries some uncertainty. And for many of us, our transition into Berkeley came in one of the most uncertain of times. We arrived on campus in the shadow of a global pandemic. We came with hope, but also with the weight of isolation, change, and uncertainty. And for me, that transition felt especially mysterious. I had just retired from competitive figure skating, a world I had devoted nearly 2 decades of my life to. And I wasn't sure who I was or where I belonged, but one thing I was sure of was how behind I felt when I took my first chemistry class at community college. Now, don't get me wrong, I loved it, but I also felt like everyone around me understood things faster, spoke more confidently, and belonged in a way that I didn't. So when a mentor recommended that I apply to Berkeley's College of Chemistry, I thought, people like me, we don't really fit into the College of Chemistry. But somehow, through the encouragement and support of professors, family, and many others, I found myself starting classes here. I was full of doubts that first semester, but it was the community here, my fellow classmates, the peer tutors, GSIs, professors who patiently explained the same concept to me multiple times, who helped me feel like I truly belonged. Now, if you had told me my first semester here that one day I'd be a chemistry scholar's peer tutor for quantum mechanics, I probably would have laughed because I wouldn't have even known what quantum mechanics was. And honestly, after a year of tutoring that class, I still can't say with certainty that I know what it is, but at least I can kind of do the problem sets. Now, I know I'm not the only one with a story like this, of uncertainty, of growth, of figuring it out one step at a time, and of watching ourselves and those around us develop the confidence that comes with belonging. I found myself experiencing community in ways I wouldn't have even imagined when I first began my college journey, whether that's sitting shoulder to shoulder within the windowless walls of Lewis 1 during packed office hours, or hanging out with friends in the new community kitchen in Gilman. These were just some of the moments that showed me what makes this class so extraordinary. In a time when connection had to be rebuilt from the ground up, we somehow made this place feel like more than just school. We supported each other through what seemed to be never-ending problem sets, grad school applications, moments of happiness and relief, and moments of self-doubt and disappointment. And through all of this, I believe we became people who know how to move forward and navigate uncertainty, not just alone, but together. And now, we stand at the edge of another transition. Some of us have jobs lined up, others are heading into grad school or med school, and some are still figuring it out. And once again, we step into a world grappling with uncertainty. But now, we carry with us the confidence of people who showed up, found connection in that uncertainty, and helped turn this place into a community. Let's carry that with us into our careers, our relationships, and our lives. So, congratulations, class of 2025, and go Bears!
Thank you, Sarah. Our second student speaker is Jack Yang. Jack is popular Jack Yang. Jack is graduating this spring with a Bachelor of Science degree in Chemical Engineering with an emphasis in Energy and Environment and a minor in Data Science. Jack was born in Chicago, moved with his family to Beijing, China, and then settled in Palos Verdes in Southern California. His early motivation for studying chemistry and chemical engineering came from watching the TV show Phineas and Ferb. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar, and it sounds like most of you are, the show followed stepbrothers Phineas and Ferb as they constructed grand projects and embarked on adventures to make the most of their time on summer vacation. Science and technology were often the basis of these projects, and young Jack was hooked. Owing to the influence of these precocious stepbrothers, Jack attended a nanochemistry summer camp in high school, which solidified both his interest in chemical engineering and his belief that the field has potential to drive revolutionary changes in sustainability and technology. Fast forward a few years, and Jack is now embarking on his own adventures, scientific and otherwise. This summer, he will travel to China to visit family and then go backpacking in and around Beijing with friends. He'll also enjoy some time backpacking in Vancouver before settling into his job with the Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company based in Phoenix, Arizona. In the future, Jack plans to return to school for an MBA or a degree in data science to further expand his skill set, then pursue interdisciplinary projects in the sustainability sector. Outside of academics, Jack enjoys rock climbing, salsa dancing, and playing the piano. He says he used to have stage fright and lacked confidence in front of an audience, but salsa dancing in front of hundreds of people helped him overcome that fear. And listening to him speak in front of this audience today will show you just what you can accomplish if you challenge yourself. Please join me in welcoming Jack to the podium.
Good afternoon, everyone. I want to start by congratulating all my classmates here today, a group of brilliant minds who voluntarily subjected themselves to years of hazardous fumes, confusing NMR spectra, and complicated Aspen models. Graduating from the College of Chemistry is a huge accomplishment, and you should all be so proud of what you've done. As I stand here today, I want us to reflect on the undeniable certainties of what we've accomplished. We learned to navigate complex reactions and model entire industrial processes, which reminded us of why we fell in love with chemistry and engineering in the first place. We met friends and faculty who continuously challenge us to grow both professionally and personally. And we fought through 4 years of midnight problem sets, brutal exams, and clumsy lab partners who broke a few beakers back in Chem 4A. Sorry, Tyler. We survived and we thrived, and our diplomas are proof that we made it. While I'm excited to celebrate, I can't help but think about the uncertainty of what comes next. I'm sure I'm not alone in saying that I have very little insight into what the next few years, or even the next decade of my life holds. What will my next job be? Will I like it? How will I spend my free time, and with whom? These are the questions that I've been asking myself as my time in Berkeley nears its end. But I know we'll be okay. In fact, we've done this before. Remember 4 years ago when we had so many doubts about this new world? I didn't know if Berkeley or chemical engineering was the right choice, or how I would balance making school and making friends. I remember applying to different clubs unsure of where I'd belong, or wondering to myself if I'd ever understand what a fugacity coefficient actually meant. But step by step, we figured it out. We found research that fueled our curiosity, and we became leaders in organizations that were meaningful to us. And this gives me confidence that we'll figure out what comes next too. So once again, we're thrown into the world, except now, instead of choosing classes and extracurriculars, we're figuring out the pieces of our lives. In fact, it's a lot like a distillation column. We enter with a mix of experiences and goals and uncertainties, and with each stage, each job, each challenge, each unexpected detour, we refine who we are and what we want. Not every step gives us the pure product that we're aiming for, but every stage brings us closer and helps us separate what matters most from what doesn't. Eventually, through all the trials and temperature shifts, we come closer to something clear and meaningful. It's possible that we won't love our first gig, but that's not the measurement of our success. Maybe it's not what our childhood selves imagined we'd be doing, or maybe we'll hate the first PhD projects we work on, or the first city that we move to won't be where we always dreamt of. But each experience gives us something valuable, a skill, a lesson, a new perspective. So even if the path ahead feels like a mixture of unknowns, trust that you're still rising. You're refining, learning, and becoming your best self along the way. The road ahead might be uncertain, but we've already proven that we can embrace challenges and adapt with purpose. Wherever your path leads, I hope you chase what excites you alongside friends who make it worth it. So thank you. Thank you for being here with me today, for being here with me for the last 4 years, and for the years to come. I'll need your help. Congratulations, class of 2025. Go Bears.
Thank you, Jack. At this time, I would like to turn the microphone over to this year's commencement speaker, Tony Sasanto, who is affectionately known around our college as the Sushi King. Tony was born and raised in Indonesia and is the youngest of 8 children. Growing up, Tony helped in the shoe store that his family ran. and I believe that is where Tony's entrepreneurial spirit first developed. His upbringing shaped his culinary perspective just as it did his business sense. Indonesia is a country with a multicultural cuisine based on Malay, Chinese, and Indian influences. But Tony's primary culinary influence was the Hakka food his mother served at home. After completing high school, he left Indonesia behind, and at the age of 19, he traveled to California to study at Cal State Northridge. He stayed there for a year and a half and then transferred to Berkeley to pursue a degree in chemical engineering. Tony swiftly obtained his Bachelor of Science degree in chemical engineering in 1980 and then moved on to graduate school at Caltech in Pasadena. There he met two roommates who would later become his business partners. In a moment, you'll hear how Tony went from Berkeley grad to founder and became CEO of Kika Sushi in 1986. Over the years, Kika Sushi has diversified into other Asian cuisines, and in that sense, Tony has come full circle, having grown up in Indonesia in a Hakka family surrounded by a diversity of Asian foods from birth. Today, Tony's sushi can be found in over 250 Whole Foods markets and in numerous schools, hospitals, and offices around the country, including several UC Berkeley cafes, and most recently at our pre-commencement faculty luncheon. Thank you for that, by the way, Tony. It was delicious. The college has benefited over the years from both Tony's generous sushi offerings and his inspirational example. And today, I am delighted to welcome Tony Susanto to the podium.
Thank you for the kind introduction, Dean Clark. Good afternoon, class of 2025, family, faculty, and supporters. It is a huge honor for me to be here at my alma mater, Cal. Go Bears! I never imagined this when I first came to United Years many years ago. As Dean Clark mentioned, when I was 19 years old, I arrived in America from Indonesia. My English was so bad that I lost my camera during the transit stop in Hawaii. I couldn't explain to the flight attendant what I have lost. I lost it forever, but this is how we work. Speaking of not understanding things, when I was a student here, I need to pass on the corner of Bancroft and Telegraph every day on the way home from chemistry class. One day, I passed and I saw on the street vendor a big sign, belt for $1. I thought, oh wow, it's only $1. I did not pay attention what design it had on it. It's cheap and it fit me. So I pay $1 and I wear it. When my roommate saw it, he made fun of me. Woohoo, Tony, look at you. I can't remember what he exactly said. I said, what the heck? I paid $1, I'm just keep wearing it. Until some years ago, I saw a building from my balcony with a huge picture of a leaf, the same one that I was on my belt. And I asked my daughter, what is that picture? And she told me that was a marijuana weed leaf. And I suddenly realized, 40 years later, oh shoot, I can't believe I wore that weed belt all my college. I was a big nerd then and still am today. Anyway, I got here, studied very hard. I graduated from the best university, UC Berkeley, as Dean said. So, woo! After graduation, I knew I want to start a business in the US. I believe there are many opportunities for hardworking people to succeed here. As some people would say, pursue the American dream. But I quickly found staying in the US was not going to be easy. I thought getting a job with a Berkeley and Caltech degree would be easy. I was wrong. I interviewed at one of the best chemical company at that time. I sat down and the interviewer asked me, "Do you have a green card?" I said, "I'm sorry, no, I would like your company to sponsor me a green card." He then replied, "I'm sorry, our company cannot sponsor your green card. Come back when you have one, I will hire you immediately." I said, "Okay, thank you," disappointed and left. That's it. That's how the interview were like that, most of them. But eventually, I got a job at the National Semiconductor. You know, it's not my preferred job. I don't even know what a semiconductor was, to be honest. But they were the only company willing to sponsor me the green card. I took the job, learned from the beginning again, and worked very hard. And I am very grateful to them today. A couple of years later, while I was working at the National Semiconductor, my former roommates called me with a perfect opportunity. It was a chance to own a franchise restaurant where you do not have to work anything. They said, "We will watch our money grow on trees because everybody eats every day." Being young and stupid, I believed them. So my partners and I put in our saving and invested in an all-you-can-eat Japanese buffet restaurant. The restaurant was busy but not making money. So I decided to run the daily operation. When I told my boss at National Semiconductor I am leaving, he tried to convince me to stay. "Tony, you are so crazy. Do you know how hard it is in the restaurant business? I used to work at a pizza restaurant." And then he also said, "The sky is your limit here in engineering." But I said, "I will take a 6-month sabbatical. If I don't like it, I will come back." But I knew this was the chance to finally start my own business. I was going to make it. We have to learn a lot from our first location. It was not easy money. After long and hard work, we were able to make it profitable. Then a second location at a better location and higher sales was available. We bought it, ran it, and make it very, very successful. My confidence grew. Then we opened our third location called Kika Restaurant in Beverly Hills Rodeo Drive, one of the highest rent districts in the United States. I thought I would apply the same formula in a nicer location. But this was a huge mistake. Most nights, we have just a few customers. Some nights, we have zero customers. I needed to save money, so I was the waiter, the bartender, the busboy, the managers, the owner with no salary. But my business is still losing money. My mom called me from Indonesia. "Tony, why don't you come back? Why you work so hard? Life in Indonesia is easy." My business partner called, "We should close this restaurant. We are losing money. We should quit." But everyone was ready to throw in the towel. but I did not give up. So, facing with possibility of bankruptcy, I tried many, many things. Can you believe we tried to sell sushi at the disco? But people just want to drink and dance. We tried sushi at the spa parties from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. Nobody really want to eat sushi at those hours. We even catered private parties in Beverly Hills. So I got pulled over by the cops. Let's just say my old beat-up truck did not fit with the Mercedes-Benz, BMWs, and Rolls-Royce in the neighborhood. Then one day, after 5 p.m., my regular customer named Michael sat down at a bar. I served him a big bottle of Sapporo beer. He then told me, "You know what, Tony? There is a Safeway market nearby that sells sushi inside the market. There are so many supermarkets around. Maybe you can sell sushi there one day, and you will be a sushi king." The same night, after my restaurant closed, I brought my chef to Safeway Market, researched the idea. We know how to make sushi, we just needed to put in a box. Then I approached a few local supermarkets, and one market was willing to try our fresh daily sushi. This is the start of Kika Sushi today. Thank you, Angel Michael, for the idea. Later on, I mentioned to another regular restaurant customer that I started to do delivery sushi to supermarkets. We had become friends, and he was aware of my struggles. He then asked me, "Have you considered Mrs. Gucci's natural supermarket? I have never heard of that market." As soon as he left, I found it in the Yellow Pages book. If you don't know what it is, please ask your parents. I set up an appointment with the buyer, and then he said, "I'm sorry, Tony, I cannot carry the sushi because the ingredients are not approved. No white rice and sugar allowed." I went back again to my kitchen, discussed with my chef what are the alternatives. We were able to switch to brown rice and honey. Mrs. Goods accepted our natural sushi with revised ingredients. Nobody was making sushi with brown rice then. We became the pioneer of brown rice sushi unexpectedly. A few years later, Mrs. Goods was bought by Whole Food Market, and now they have become our biggest customer with over 250 locations. I learned sometimes the best idea come from the unexpected sources. Okay, so how did chemistry save my business? Now that we have become big enough for regulator to take notice, I received a surprise food safety inspection. They said, all the sushi rice need to be thrown out. Room temperature rice is serious health code violation. US food safety rule have a strict requirement for food to be either hot, above 135 degrees Fahrenheit, or cold, below 41 degrees Fahrenheit. But I know good sushi rice must be room temperature. Cold rice is too hard, hot rice falls apart. I needed to convince the FDA and the health inspector that sushi rice at room temperature is safe. I knew in Japan, sushi rice has been kept in room temperature for years without any problem. Sushi rice also contain rice vinegar that lower the pH. I did some research and learned that I could do a challenge study to prove the sushi rice at room temperature is safe. During the study, we inoculated sushi rice with Bacillus cereus bacteria, controlled the pH below 4.2 at room temperature. When the test result came back, the bacteria did not just stop growing, they died. The acidity in the rice killed the bacteria. I showed this finding to the FDA and local department inspector and used this method consistently at all KICA locations using a protocol called HACCP. Today, over 1,000 of my sushi chefs must learn to be a chemist, calibrating pH meter, taking sample, and running pH tests. This new technique become the standard not only for KICA Sushi and the entire sushi industry in the United States. I would never think calibrating the pH meter I learned from Chemistry 101 would be so valuable later on. This is how chemistry saved my business. Graduates, looking back, Carl taught me something really important, problem solving. You know, I got this question all the time. They say, Tony, why do you go to Berkeley and work so hard if you never to be a chemical engineer? I will tell them what I will tell you all. Carl taught me how to solve any problem I encounter. Just like in organic chemistry class, they give you a very difficult equation you need to solve. In real life, the same thing. You will encounter many problems you have never faced before. When you face an obstacle, remember to use every tool you have. Be willing to change course, pivot. Be open to the unexpected idea. Listen to people around you. Be humble, never give up. Always see the glass half full. When I struggle with my restaurant, I always feel I am going to turn this around. I'm not giving up. Carl gave me the tools. Persistence give me success. You have the tools and persist and make your own success. Congratulations, class of 2025. Thank you, go Bears.
Thank you, Tony. Long live the king. On May 7th, the college held a separate honors and awards ceremony, recognizing some of the most outstanding graduates of 2025. And let me say that, in general, this year's graduating class of undergraduates continues to demonstrate Berkeley's excellence by virtue of the breadth and number of awards received, honors bestowed, job opportunities offered, and admission to the top graduate programs in the country. In short, our students continue to excel, inspire, and amaze. Over 80 students received honors in the ceremony on May 7th. The eligibility requirements for honors are as follows. Students graduating with a 3.823 GPA receive the rank of honors. Students with a 3.940 GPA receive high honors. And students with a 4.000 GPA receive highest honors. You can tell that we're fond of significant figures around here. So I would now like to ask all of our graduates who have received the distinction of honors, high honors, and highest honors to stand and be recognized for your extraordinary work to meet this achievement. Thank you. Please be seated. Each of our departments also annually selects the winners of awards recognizing overall excellence in scholastic performance, outstanding research accomplishments, and service excellence for peer advising, tutoring, and academic teaching support. In your program, which you can access through the QR code, you will see a listing of those awards, which were also presented at the Honors and Awards ceremony. I'd like to ask those graduates listed in the program to now stand and be recognized. Thank you. Please be seated, and congratulations to all our student awardees. I would also like to take a moment to recognize a few of our distinguished faculty members. The Departmental Teaching Award is presented to a faculty member in each department in recognition of their exceptional teaching. The award is based on nominations submitted by our graduating students. The recipients of this year's awards are Richmond Sarpong in chemistry and Karthik Shekhar in chemical and biomolecular engineering. And finally, the Donald Sterling Noyce Prize for Excellence in Undergraduate Teaching is given annually to a faculty member in the physical sciences, not just chemistry or chemical engineering, who has demonstrated unusual success in undergraduate education, including work in the area of curriculum development. This year's Noyce Prize recipient is chemical and biomolecular engineering professor Joël Frechette. Well, that brings us to the main purpose of the day, which is the presentation of degrees. Anyone out there interested in receiving a degree, perhaps? Well, okay then. So I now call upon Anne Berenger, Professor of Chemistry, to announce the BS degree recipients in chemistry. So will the degree candidates please rise and line up at the edge of the stage?
Miles Gabriel Strelecki. Luis Angel Ayala Ramirez. Nicole Farah Amari. Max Haynes. Caleb Overstreet. Fiona Korinawan. Alia Hassan. Austin Chang. Lucas Leon. Sadie Oscar. Jake Bearer. Javier Alberto Albors. Nathan Lahadern. Nino Odile Schertz. Philip Minsung Jung. Zachary Howard. Alexander Holbert. Abby Pine. Paul Sabine Clark. Grigor Merchian. Yifan Chen. Sophia Idez Sekapor Cosme. Bianca Paula James. Sun Yu Jung. Abigail Gonzalez. Eugene Kim. Robert Knight. Winston Berkeley Chian. David Ha. Alex Segalari. Ron Zhang. Claire An Lin. Daniel Weber. Timothy Pinkasek. Aaron Lee. Caitlin Dale. Carlisle Akemi McKenzie. Joshua Gershon. Simran Kaur. Jeffrey Tyler Kenyon. Carson Wyatt Dunn. Teo Torcato Taborzi. Bryant Nguyen. Robert Ramirez. Marianne Jasmine Shelvis. Nicholas Raymond Reiteter. Lucas Ishmael Rodriguez. Ashkar Bhagat. Alex Tonga. Brandon Lim. Andrew Seaborn Nystrom. Ezra Korakan Barley. Kira Bootleer Young. Emily Yepes. Tiffany Lee. Chusu Miao. Zhenghao Jimmy Lu. Tony Jenichi de Leon. Heidi Alexandra Martinez. Ni Fanong Tran. Stephanie Yiwen Chen Mei. Huang Ai Deep. Arturo Tibayan Samson. Shauna Azar Sahabi. Alia Gwyneth Franzik. Iva Gessel. Zoe Erin Flanagan. Vincente Contreras. Yiza Wong. Timothy Fan Huynh. Brian Soy. Xinyi Li. Celine Gua. Sean Michael Marsh.
And now this is really the coolest part. By virtue of the authority vested in me by the President and the Chancellor, I grant you the degree Bachelor of Science in Chemistry. Professor Behringer will now read the names of the BA degree recipients in chemistry. Will the degree candidates please rise and line up at the edge of the stage?
Vikram Arora. Vanessa Avalos Mora. Eric Diego Zeha. Hannah Lynn Day. Valerie Fraga. Rowan Arena Lee. Yihan Lin. Ashley Jayaprada Mahadio. Davis Renz. Devin Lee Robinson. Ernesto Sanchez.
By virtue of the authority vested in me by the President and the Chancellor, I grant you the degree of Bachelor of Arts in Chemistry. And now, Professor Behringer will announce the names of the BS degree recipients in chemical biology. I think you know what to do, but just in case, will the degree candidates please rise and line up at the edge of the stage?
Josue Pedro Gonzalez, Jr. Yiyang Zhang. Riley Peyton Benedict. Varun Upate. Arjun Garapati. Rebecca Bernstein. Eileen Nathania Atmadja. Jaylin L. Chang. Lila Ismail. Charles Arsenio Garcia Floyd. Zachary Bruce Green. Ian Caleb Leifer. Bryn Morgan Courier. Hyun Young Choi. Ashley Camelia Hang. Jacko Law. Colin Delaney. Andrew Lee. Ken McNerney. Nisha Prasitabab. Heather Chapman. Eric Gia. Alex Q. Sarah Fang. Zirun Johnson Zane. Matuta Chaisuparakul. Alexa Ma. Isha Nadig. Emil Haight. Jonathan Philip Giller. Jessica Vungni Nguyen. Emily Olivia Heller. Emily Wen Ho. Haofeng Jack Xiang. David Sugiarto. Sam Sobel. Bo Yang Huang. Huaru Liang. Sarah Chen. Lin Tsai. Leben Kawaguchi. Albert Chung Yin Wu. Jonovan Marcos Mendoza. Taylor Tyson Truong. Terrence Sun. Rogelio Santos Sulivu. Jocelyn Marquez. Zain Adil Shabir. Peyton Hui Carroll. Caroline Liu. Kathy Zhu. Melanie Zhang. Cody Sun Tran. Jessica Rain Tihom.
By virtue of the authority vested in me by the President and the Chancellor, I grant you the degree of Bachelor of Science in Chemical Biology. I now call upon Joelle Frechette, Professor of Chemical and Biomolecular Engineering, who needs no introduction, to announce the BS degree recipients in chemical engineering. Will the degree candidates please rise and line up at the edge of the stage?
Samuel Potter. Phi Su Wong. Alder Reese Ensberg. Sophia DeVue. Cameron Koda. Janae Simmons. Marcus Hoy. Elliot Sir. Andrew Gordon. Renee Conwar. Neha Krisiraj. Rinaldi Wijaya. Miles Duong. Ana Catalina Fuentes Aguirre. Jiai Selena Chen. Pat Tedunala Sayed. Michelle Tandra Dinata. Amanda Shu. Troy No. Victoria Eva Oginski. Nathan Eastman. Marianne Hahn. Katrina Wanecki. Michelle Toyooka. Martina Boga de Teresa. Nicole Craw. Stefani Gonzalez. Carla Alejandra Vega Cervantes. Helen Sun. Irene Shiwang Chang. Eileen Wu. Bailey Demo. Sarah Kiyoko Chang. Rania Hamid. Kala Shu. Ethan Chen. Ryan Gedman. Julia Im. Daniel Lee. Ada Lee. Edmund Brian Wong. Leah Anna Mari Raskino. Eunice Yisol Yoon. Time Sasi Song Suporn. Rohan Gulati. William O'Sullivan. Guillerme Zard Hoer. Parker Amin. Raheel Sheikh. Hamag Balaji. Davis Chan. Ethan Mibu. Manat Dillon. Sashideshna Couture. Layla Shook. Thomas Kuharchuk. Michelle Fachtenbeiner. Rodrigo Serrano Hernandez. Jeremy Jackson. Madison Michelle Waite. Deverin Smith. Jacob O. Justin Brewer. Liam McDonough. Jack Yang. Tyler Pollock. Cerise Wong. Anika Schroff. Madeline Shinrei Wong. Joshua David Prayosotanto. Andrew May. Wesley Jacob Cien. Clyde Thrasher. Aditya Udgankar. Nikhil Sathi Reddy. Gregor Johnson. Ryan Harris Anthony Oliveira. Arun Kamath. Ryan Elkori. Basima Shuman.
By virtue of the authority vested in me by the President and the Chancellor, I grant you the degree of Bachelor of Science in Chemical Engineering. Now, for the Professional Master's degree in the Product Development Program, Dr. Keith Alexander will read the names of the MS degree recipients in Chemical Engineering's Product Development Program, and Chair Brian McCloskey will join me in congratulating the recipients.
Great, thank you. Anirudh Velayur. Michael Tung Leong. Jordy Tella Fancam. J.U. Wang. Divya Shivanand. Let me see here. Okay. Iran Gia. Farid Inani. Juwan Nabil. Elan He. Courtney Brooke Bayless. Heejong Lim. Ahmed Al Ali. Beryl Gur. Pat Nari Tanglert Sampan. Jason J. Lee. Jonathan J.N. Lee. Abdul Wahab Bandar Al Harbi. Samuel Beria Gabur. Bernard Wang. Haley Shaw. Pratik Prakash Nandagavi. All right. Devendra Amor Moray. Shi In Lin. Yuji Young. Philip Bashwanath Majumdar. Sophie Kasabian. Shi Yu Shin.
By virtue of the authority vested in me by the President and the Chancellor, I grant you the degree of Master of Science in Product Development. Now, for the Professional Master's degree in the Bioprocess Engineering program, Executive Director Jason Ryder will read the names of the master's degree recipients in bioprocess engineering, and Chair Brian McCloskey will join me in congratulating the recipients.
Kenzo Ku. Rania Khalid Al-Hitawi. Celeste Hannah Nihusin. Alexandra Michelle Sweeney. Yasmin Pham Mansouri. Nitu Liz John. Ramraj Vimori. Alexandra Quinese Matthews. Tomas Paul Pierre Guas. Christopher Armin Masmanian. Alice Giaprakis. Victoire Veluto. Mariana Vaca. Daniela Rios Gracia. Derek Adrian Rodriguez. Ima Jansen Indaya Tapawan.
By virtue of the authority vested in me by the President and the Chancellor, I grant you the degree of Master of Bioprocess Engineering. Now, for the master's degree in chemical engineering, Chair Brian McCloskey will read the names of the MS degree recipients in chemical engineering.
Aya A. Hassan.
By virtue of the authority vested in me by the President and the Chancellor, I grant you the degree of Master of Science in Chemical Engineering. Now, for the Professional Master's degree in the Molecular Science and Software Engineering program, Professor Teresa Head Gordon will read the names of the master's degree recipients in molecular science and software engineering, and Chair Dean Tost will join me in congratulating the recipients.
Dulce Adeline Torres. Caroline Martin. Laura Nicole Jones. Caitlin Celine Helm. Dakota Austin Turk. Named Madala Wasim. Kofi Ankansa Meiraku. Sabrina Temesgen. Aisha Thermidor. Emma Brogman. Esta Sarah J. Matu. Marie Anand. Jessie McKee. Francine Bianca de la Cruz Oca. Cassidy Barbara Marasigan. Dylan Duimian Do. Shivanji Patel. Pooja Madagula. Jedrick Regala Zablin. Timothy Ethan Iguin. Brandon That Ton. Jeremy Milford. Thomas Walter Janis. Joshua Bedwell. Yara Kuri. Casey Tomlin. Jayun Jiang. Benjamin Cron Hansen. L. McLennan. Molly Maureen McGuire. Cameron Hu. Brandon Rabello. Sahil Patil. Lucia Paulina Lopez. Cynthia Jeanette Perez. Hati Bik Niu.
By virtue of the authority vested in me by the President and the Chancellor, I grant you the degree of Master of Molecular Science and Software Engineering. Now for the Master of Science in Chemistry, Chair Dean Tost will read the names of the MS degree recipients in chemistry.
figured I could do this one. Adam Khan.
By virtue of the authority vested in me by the President and the Chancellor, I grant you the degree of Master of Science in Chemistry. I now call upon Chair Tost, who will read the names and thesis titles of the PhD degree recipients in chemistry. Each student will be hooded by their faculty research advisor or, in their absence, by Dean Maboudian or a colleague. Dean Tost.
All right. You definitely need a PhD degree in chemistry to read PhD thesis titles. So here we go. Ready? Amanda Brewer, the influence of interligand interactions on the fundamental and functional properties of colloidal nanocrystals. PhD advisor Paul Alivisatos, being hooded by undergraduate Dean Maboudian. David Patrick Hales. Unusual bonding motifs in rhenium beta diketonates complexes. PhD advisor John Arnold, being hooded by Professor Don Tilley. Sheridan Narissa Kelly, molecular precursors for chemical and morphological control of actinide calcinide materials. PhD advisor John Arnold, being hooded by Professor Rebecca Abergel. Nicholas Joseph Katzer, bonding studies on the lanthanide and actinide organometallic complexes bearing sterically demanding carbocyclic ligands, being hooded by his PhD advisor, Polly Arnold. Abigail Hinojosa Cantu, you belong here, exploring the sense of belonging in chemistry through item response theory and development of initiatives for student success, being hooded by her PhD advisor, Professor Ann Behringer. Matthew Peter Erodici, probing the interplay between local structure and magnetic order in two-dimensional magnetic intercalation compounds. I scratched that off. Being hooded by his PhD advisor, Professor Kwamna Bediako. Sean Thomas Clare, investigation of the stratospheric circulation through the whole air sample, observations of the photochemical age tracers and radiocarbon. Being hooded by his PhD advisor, Professor Christy Boring. Angel Gonzalez Valero, identifying and characterizing single atom proteome modifications, being hooded by his PhD advisor, Professor Christopher Chang. Logan Thomas Tenney, activity-based sensing platforms for one-carbon stress and signaling, being hooded by his PhD advisor, Christopher Chang. Zi Yi Wang, visualizing tunable electronic behavior in molecule-based covalent architectures, being hooded by his PhD advisor, Michael Cromie. Aidan Delgado, exploring quantum phenomena in organic materials, being hooded by his PhD advisor, Felix Fischer. Song Yen Lee, exciton dynamics in photosynthetic and conjugated polymer systems, probing diffusion, quenching, and transport mechanisms, being hooded by his PhD advisor, Professor Graham Fleming. Derek Manuel Garcia Almedina, tyrosinase-enabled molecular construction of bispecific antibodies, hooded by his PhD advisor, Matthew Francis. Shumpai Morita, molecular signaling processes in T-cell signaling, PhD advisor Jay Groves, hooded by undergraduate Dean Maboudian. Henry Thandat Phan, the role of bimolecular condensates in epidermal growth factor receptor activation and signaling, PhD advisor Jay Groves, hooded by undergraduate Dean Maboudian. Nicodemo Robert Chicha, catalytic amination of CH bonds in polyolefins, hooded by his PhD advisor John F. Hartwig. John Nicholas Brunn, CN and CNO bond formation from group 10 transition metal complexes, hooded by his PhD advisor, John F. Hartwig. Richard James Conk, valorization of polyolefins through olefin intermediate processes, hooded by his PhD advisor, John Hartwig. Isaac August DeLong Joyner, development of artificial metalloenzymes for applications in synthetic chemistry, hooded by his PhD advisor, when he gets a chance, John Hartwig. Jeremy James Nicolai, development of selective CC and CN bond forming reactions using metals and enzymes, hooded by his advisor, John Hartwig. Christina Nicole Pearson, investigation of first row metal reactivities with aero halides, elementary steps, and catalytic cross-coupling, hooded by her PhD advisor, John Hartwig. Jia-Shu Liang, benchmarking and development of modern density functional theory, hooded by his PhD advisor, Professor Martin Head Gordon. O Fan Jiang, bridging generative models and experimental data for modeling proteins in global and local disorder, hooded by her PhD advisor, Professor Teresa Head Gordon. Vincent Quy Tran, Advancing Machine Learning Guided Frameworks for Engineering Complex Proteins, PhD advisor Patrick David Su, hooded by Professor Matt Francis. Nicolette Gabriel Pushkar, Autosecond Nonlinear Four-Wave Mixing Spectroscopy of Ultrafast Quantum Dynamics, PhD advisor Professor Stephen Leone, being hooded by Matthew Francis. Aditya Singh, a collection of problems in kinetics across equilibrium and non-equilibrium steady states, being hooded by his PhD advisor, David T. Limmer. Rachel Rohde, high temperature gas separations in metal organic frameworks, PhD advisor, Jeffrey Long, being hooded by undergraduate dean Maboudian. Allison Eileen Batka, mechanistic investigation of polysaccharide monooxygenases, being hooded by her PhD advisor, Professor Michael Marletta. Kimberly Ann Houghton, investigating the conformation activity relationships of soluble guanylate cyclases, hooded by her PhD advisor, Michael Marletta. She had little faith that I would get that right. Yang Wu, the study of, Yang Wu, the study of soluble guanylate cyclases for Konechia flexa, being hooded by his PhD advisor, Professor Michael Marletta. Dana Byrne, atomic engineering characterization of hexagonal boron nitride using electron and ion beam microscopes. PhD advisor Andrew Miner, being hooded by undergraduate dean Roya Maboudian. Harrison Tuckman, themes for off-bomb suppression in excited state-specific perturbations of coupled cluster theories, hooded by his PhD advisor, Professor Eric Nuskaman. Elizabeth Ann King, leveraging chemoproteomics for covalent-induced proximity approaches, hooded by her PhD advisor, Daniel K. Nomura. Vienna Chen Jingchu Thomas, leveraging small molecules for targeted protein modulation for induced proximity in chemoproteomics. PhD's advisors Dan Nomura and Jennifer Dowden, hooded by Professor Dan Nomura. Lauren Michelle Orr, leveraging covalency and chemoproteomics for targeted protein degradation and target identification, being hooded by her PhD advisor, Professor Nomura. Nicholas Sielkowski, cooperative dioxygen activation by polynuclear transition metal complexes of tridentate phosphoramide ligands, hooded by his PhD advisor, John Riddle. Megan Marie Kremsmeyer, the discovery of manganese-dependent monooxygenases for CH bond activation, hooded by her PhD advisor, John Riddle. Ryan Scott Reynolds, the chemical kinetics of reactive intermediates in organic aerosol particles. Advisor Richard Sakely, that was a mouthful. Advisor Richard Sakely and Dr. Kevin Wilson, hooded by undergraduate Dean Roya Mabudian. Logan Bartholomew, strategies for skeletal diversification of aromatic nitrogenous heterocycles, hooded by his PhD advisor, Richmond Sarpong. Karis Amber, CC bond functionalization, single atom skeletal editing, and the concise total synthesis of hesperospirmidine. Hooded by his PhD advisor, Richmond Sarpong. I need a drink before this one. All right. Lucas Conrad Lothar Theodore Goteman. Close enough, I think. Development of the application of new synthetic methods inspired by the total synthesis of natural products, PhD advisor, Richmond Sarpong. So Young Francis Kim, development and mechanistic investigations of photomediated skeletal editing transformations for nitrogenous heterocycles. Hooded by her PhD advisor, Professor Richmond Sarpong. Khalid Sangster Mahmood, studies in gold-catalyzed cycloisomerizations and CC cleavage, cross-coupling approaches to the synthesis of 9 to 15-membered rings, total synthesis of roscarolic acid lactone natural products. Hooded by his PhD advisor, Richmond Sarpong. Paul Philip Sinclair, total synthesis of bifactoxycine alkaloids, part 2 modular synthesis of thiodiazole 1,1-dioxides. Jonathan Giudice, the biophysical requirements that govern the efficient endosomal escape, PhD advisor, Alana Shepard. Jesus. Showing my Canadian roots, I think. Lauren Layshawk. Photoactive small molecule tools for live cell imaging and analysis, hooded by her PhD advisor, Alana Shepards. Leah Tang Ro, protein editing using acyl chemistry, hooded by her PhD advisor, Alana Shepards. Angel Vasquez Maldonado, engineering cell permeant many proteins enhanced endosomal escape for the delivery of active therapeutics, hooded by her PhD advisor, Alana Shepardz. August James Rothenberger, elaboration of nanocarbon materials via metal-mediated 2+2+N cycloadditions, hooded by his PhD advisor, Professor Don Tilley. Matthew Stevens C, development of homo and hetero multimetallic complexes supported by the 1,8-naphthyridine ligands, hooded by his PhD advisor, Professor Don Tilley. Judy Pan, expanding mechanistic and understanding of enantioinduction in asymmetric supramolecular systems, hooded by her PhD advisor, me. Arshkar Lime Cooler, quantum algorithms based on the tensor networks of chemical simulation and the computation of molecular energies, PhD advisor Brigitte Whaley, hooded by undergraduate dean Roya Maboudian. Emily Kristen Brown, kinetics and sensing in aqueous microdroplets, PhD advisor Kevin Wilson, hooded by undergraduate dean Roya Maboudian. Oh, he's not. I guess Emily's not here. All right. Liron Cohen, probing interfacial chemistry and kinetic models and molecular dynamics simulations, PhD advisor Kevin Wilson, hooded by undergraduate dean Roya Maboudian. Tiffany Quangling Chen, design of pseudo bonds in functional composites, hooded by her PhD advisor, Ting Xu. Matthew Carl Burgana, functional mixed linker systems in multivariate metal organic frameworks. PhD advisor Omar Yagi, being hooded by undergraduate dean Roya Maboudian. Han Khan Damle, structural phase transitions and optoelectronic properties of halide perovskite semiconductor nanostructures, hooded by her PhD advisor, Peidong Yang. Jia An Lin, photochemical diodes for simultaneous bias-free glycerol valorization, hydrogen evolution, and CO2 reduction, hooded by his PhD advisor, Peidong Yang. And last, but certainly not least, John Fernandez, the effects of tubulin post-translational modifications on microtubule-associated protein activity, PhD advisor Ahmed Yildiz, hooded by, oh, Ahmed's here.
By virtue of the authority vested in me by the President and the Chancellor, I grant you the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Chemistry. Chair Brian McCloskey will now read the names and thesis titles of the PhD degree recipients in chemical engineering.
Vivan Virendra Patel, Theory and Characterization of Failure Modes and Ion Transport in Solid Polymer Electrolytes, being hooded by his PhD advisor, Professor Natash Balsara. Afnan Ali Al-Ghanem, Atomically dispersed transition metal catalyst for catalytic functionalization of light hydrocarbons, being hooded by her PhD advisor, Alex T. Bell. Grace Claire Anderson, probing the catalyst ionomer interface using microelectrodes. PhD advisor Alex Bell and Dr. Adam Weber, being hooded by her PhD advisor Alex Bell. Alex James King, multiphysics modeling of carbon dioxide and water photoelectrolysis. PhD advisors Alex Bell and Dr. Adam Weber, being hooded by PhD advisor Alex Bell. Lydia Gebremescal, bridging molecular structure and bulk mechanics and soft materials, being hooded by her PhD advisor, Joël Frechette. Abraham Isaias Martinez, dialing in highly active acid sites and mesoporous wide zeolite catalysts, being hooded by PhD advisor Alex Katz. Elizabeth Dorothy Vogt, the influence of protein corona formation on nanoparticle functionality. PhD advisor Marquita Landry, being hooded by Professor Karthik Shekhar. Alhad Deshpande, odd transport phenomena of chiral fluids. PhD advisors Kranti Manadapu and Karthik Shekhar, being hooded by Karthik Shekhar. Harsh Srivastav, predicting porous electrode formation. PhD advisor Clay Radke, being hooded by Clay Radke. Kareem Karuta, ion transport, zinc, aluminum, and sodium electrolytes for more sustainable batteries. PhD advisors Jeff Reimer and Brian McCloskey. All right. Li Fu Lin, novel characterization and semi-rational engineering of adeno-associated viruses, PhD advisor, Professor Dave Schaefer. Luo Fu Liu, a theoretical approach to trap molecules, PhD advisor Rui Wang, being hooded by Professor Joël Frechette. Takashi Jonas Yokokura, theory of polyelectrolyte brushes and its application to intrinsically disordered proteins, PhD advisor Professor Rui Wang, being hooded by Professor Joël Frechette.
By virtue of the authority vested in me by the President and the Chancellor, I grant you the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Chemical Engineering. Well, I would now like to close this ceremony with just a few brief remarks about this wonderful occasion. First, and most important, I extend my warmest congratulations to our graduates and welcome you to the permanent membership in the College of Chemistry community as alumni. My colleagues and I wish you the very best in your careers and lives, and hope that you will stay in touch with us and keep us informed of your future accomplishments. Second, I would like to extend my sincere thanks to the families and friends of our graduates who are in the audience this afternoon. The successes of the graduates sitting before us would not have been possible without your sustained love, encouragement, and support. All of you have played a vitally important role in bringing us here today. My colleagues and I applaud your efforts and share your pride in the accomplishment of these very impressive graduates. And finally, graduating from the College of Chemistry carries with it a responsibility that continues after you leave Berkeley. Now more than ever, we depend on our alumni to continue to support the teaching and research carried out here. And we hope that you will remember us as you move into your future careers. But don't worry too much. We will remind you of that. And this brings us to the end of our ceremony. The procession of faculty and graduates will first leave in the same order in which we entered the auditorium. So I will leave you with this. Former College of Chemistry Dean Glenn Seaborg, who also happened to be our second chancellor, a Nobel laureate, and advisor to 10 US presidents, once noted that many people believe that, quote, science should move us toward a utopian, problemless, riskless society. This is a false notion. We live and always will live in a dynamic situation amid problems whose solutions will breed other problems. There always will be dangers, risks, and increasing responsibilities that will drive us towards a new level of excellence in all we do or try to achieve. End quote. Well, it is now your time, College of Chemistry graduates, to drive toward a new level of excellence in all you strive to do. Congratulations and best of luck to you all. Now, just one more thing. It has been my honor to lead this commencement ceremony for the last 12 years. But this will be my last time. That's very kind. So I'd like to ask you for one last favor, to make it especially memorable. So please join me in a rousing Go Bears that will raise the roof off of this place on the count of 3. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. Go Bears! Thank you.